Hi Peter, it's a pleasure and honor to have you today to speak to the customers of Lotus Wines about your thoughts and reflections about the 2009 vintage in Burgundy.
I love the vintage. It's got a beautiful density of fruit. The wines are very, very well defined, and they're just a gorgeous expression of what's happening in Burgundy. This is a hot vintage, so it's a vintage that in my opinion is going to be drinking rather early. But it also have a nice sort of long life of about 25 to 30 years in cellar if you care to cellar it. As opposed to 08, the vintage is speaking a little bit more than the vineyard. 08 was a cool vintage, so the vineyard definition is beautifully clear. 09, you have that marvelous warmth that just brings a lot of pretty fruit in the wine.
Where do you think causes? Can you tell us a little bit about the growing season in 2009?
Well, the growing season was really beautiful and quite perfect. So we had just the right amount of rain, just the right amount of sun. Towards the end of the grow season, we had just this beautiful cool air that came down from the north and desiccated the grapes a little bit, giving just that much more concentration. The key, the trick in 09, so to speak, was to keep the right acidity in the wines to really give them some brightness and a highlight on that beautiful fruit that we have.
And as far as any favorites, Côte de Beaune, Côte de Nuit?
My favorites are the winemakers who used a whole skin fermentation, i.e. with the fermentation within the berry.
Okay, with a whole, you mean a whole cluster?
And whole cluster. That's my favorite in 09, because I feel that just brought that extra edge of acidity that really was needed in order to highlight the fruit.
We talk a lot about the red wines in 09. Tell us a little bit about the whites.
The whites are very generous, they're very pretty. At first we thought that they might be a little bit too fleshy, but as the élevage went along, they kept getting finer and finer and more defined. And actually a lot of our winemakers are very surprised they have something better on their hands than what they thought they would have at first.
As far as keeping in a cellar, what do you think the window of ageability of the 2009, both red and white?
Well, on reds, I think that it's a good 25 to 30 year capability of cellaring. On the whites, I'd put it at about 10 years.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Peter.
You're very welcome.